DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Time to welcome Wayne Cook back to the show. UCLA sideline reporter. It's the Utes and the Bruins Saturday night in Pasadena. Wayne, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. What a great way to start the year. A good old Pac-12 matchup.
Exactly. And I think a lot of Ute fans like hearing that. Kyle Whittingham, a couple times now this summer, has said he thinks this is the best offensive line he's ever had. He's got a running quarterback. He's got another transfer, ran for 1,000 yards at Washington State. They're going to run the ball. The question for UCLA for a long time was how they're skilled, but how physical can they be? Their numbers against the run improved last year with the new coaching staff. Where do you think the D-line and the front seven sit as you get ready for the opener when it comes to physicality, toughness, and being ready to line up with the Utes for 60 minutes?
Yeah, that's the whole point. I mean, when you look at, I work with Phil Steele on my podcast every week, and he absolutely loves this offensive line, top 10 in the country. And when you hear that with a Kyle Whittingham team, you're like, oh, no. Then you throw in a dynamic quarterback who, yes, at New Mexico made some mistakes, probably threw too many interceptions. Passing percentage wasn't fantastic, but you watch him on film and you're like, yeah, but he's got a good arm. He could throw the ball. He's going to be playing with more talent. And then you look at a guy that's run for over 1,000 yards, and then you switch over and you look at the other transfer, and you're like, okay, this Wayshawn Parker, I hope I got that name right, is electric. I loved watching him play. I'm like, wow, this guy's really, really dynamic. He's really good. He kind of reminds me a little bit of the quarterback, the new running back that UCLA got, and Javion Thomas. I think they're both really, really good players. Tie that into a really good offensive line, and it's going to be a big deal. So UCLA gets some guys back. Yeah, we lost some of our best players to the NFL, but we've got two guys, Gary Smith III, who was hurt all last year, and Keanu Williams at D-tackle, who was also hurt all last year. Both these guys are 100% healthy as can be, and they're hungry. I talked to them a bunch last year on the sidelines, and they were both sick that they couldn't play. So they can't wait to get out there. And then the unknowns, you guys, I mean, there are so many, if you looked at our defensive roster, there are so many new players, transfers. We've got two defensive ends, Nico Davalier, and I still have to get his name exactly right before the season starts in 2 days, and Anthony Jones Jr. from Michigan State coming off the edge. I'm really high on Anthony Jones Jr. He's had a great camp, big, athletic, kind of looks the part coming off the edge. The part where you would think we're going to get weaker is linebacker. We lose Kane Medrano to the NFL. He'll play with the Commanders this year. We lose Carson Schlesinger to the Browns. He's had a great camp for them. But we've got guys that have played there. We've got John Vaughns, who has been in school for it feels like 100 years, is finally not playing baseball anymore. He was a baseball and football player. Now he's just playing football. Jalen Woods looks to start, and they're both athletic, but there's like 4 or 5 other guys behind them that are also like starter material. I think the linebacker is solid. The secondary is where I'll throw in some question marks. We're supposed to be better. But you all know in the transfer era, I don't know what that means yet. So it looks good when I watch them in practice. It looks good against their own teammates. I feel like we've got a ton of depth. I think you're going to see a lot of guys play, but I don't know yet. I haven't seen most of these guys on the field other than watching tape of them with other teams. So that's where my questions are. But Kaika Malloy, the defensive coordinator, has done a great job the last couple of years. I mean, you guys remember UCLA has been a good defensive team, probably going back to the last time Utah came to the Rose Bowl. And they've been pretty good there. So they've been solid on the defensive side since then. It's the offense that we got to get going because we were terrible there last year.
Yeah, I think that the average less than 20 points a game, obviously that's not even close to good enough in today's world of college football where offenses are scoring not quite double, but certainly much closer to 30. And you got the new quarterback, and that's created a ton of buzz. So speak to his ability to, I mean, he's talking about being a leader and all that stuff that I read, and somewhat of a controversial addition given the circumstances that he left Tennessee. But where is he at as far as being able to lead this team offensively?
Well, for me, I mean, you nailed it, by the way. The offense was bad. It was hard to watch. Nico is obviously a huge recruit. He's trying to tell his story right now about, it's more about family. There's a lot of people that are coming. I've met Nico multiple times. You couldn't meet him more humble, nice, hardworking. He's doing everything that has been asked of him. He's not making near the money that he was asking for. So if he wanted so much more money, when you're a 5-star recruit, you have options. I also will always remind people that we don't vilify Carson Beck for leaving Georgia and getting, I think, $4 million to go to Miami. A lot of people are mercenaries. I know his situation was a little bit different because it looked like a holdout. But there's more to that story. You can decide, because that's the world we live in, right? You can decide whatever you want. All I know is having him at UCLA was an upgrade. I think his leadership is great. Bringing in Tino Sinceri, who was the quarterback coach, co-offensive coordinator at Indiana last year, and we know what happened there, has been absolutely fantastic. I've been questioning the last several years, even in the Chip Kelly years. I don't like the quarterback coach being someone separate than the offensive coordinator. I've just always felt like when you have an offensive coordinator that's the quarterback coach, those guys are sharing a brain. They're in every meeting together, and I love that. And Tino Sinceri is one of the smartest coaches I've been around so far. I'm blown away with his confidence, his competence, the way he coaches. I think he's going to make a huge, huge difference with Nico. And then let's go back to the trenches, though. The offensive line, I'll say this like the secondary. We brought in some guys. We're big. We're strong. I'm not exactly sure who the starting five is, which may be good because we have a few guys that are competing for jobs. But to me, that's going to be the secret. If we get this offensive line to play at it, last year was horrible. Part of it was the scheme. But, man, if we can get that offensive line to play well with the dynamic players we have at running back and at quarterback and some of our receivers, I just think we'd be really good. But the offensive line is a question mark right now.
Well, game one, still figuring out the offensive line. That's interesting. Are there any other position groups where this is a shakedown cruise and a test, or is everything else pretty much lined up?
Well, here's where I'll try to word that better. I don't necessarily think that it's kind of like a lot of these guys are moving around. They're trying to find how do they get the best five on the field, and I think they have 7 or 8 guys are in the mix. So I don't know if it's a problem because you need depth. I mean, the way the game works nowadays, we rotate. Like when I played, five starting linemen played the whole game unless someone got hurt. Now guys will rotate a little bit. I know we don't take certain players out because they're too good to do that, but we have a few guys that can play at a starter level, I think. So that's important. But I'll go with the same thing. I mentioned talented receivers, unproven though. I mean, Quasi Gilmer is a guy that could be elite, but I still need to see it in games. I don't want to just see flashes. We have a guy named Titus Mokiawatamalala who shows flashes of being really good but gets hurt too much. We've got Mikey Matthews, who's a transfer from Cal, who every time I watch him in practice is fantastic. So I want to see it, though. So that's a position. Xavier Staples is a player that everybody keeps talking about, but his hands have been a little bit suspect, but I've heard they've improved dramatically. He looks good in practice. So, those are a few positions. I want to see the secondary. I want to see the offensive line. I want to see the receivers. I think we have a lot of talent there, but, you guys know this. It's the same with Utah. You can talk about how good everybody is, but you guys are coming off a rough year last year. So what is it going to look like on the field? We think it's going to be good. A lot of people are picking Utah to be a sneaky, playoff pick. And I don't think that's a bad pick because I love Coach Whittingham and what he does, and I don't expect him to be down twice. But I think we're going to learn a lot at the Rose Bowl. And I think this is a lot of people are finally starting to come to grips that this is a great way to end your day with a really good matchup on the first Saturday of week one.
I think it's important for the Bruins under Deshaun Foster in his second year to develop some momentum and get some positive momentum going forward. And you look at the schedule, and I was reading some stuff here earlier yesterday because I knew you were coming on, talking about, oh, my gosh, if they can find a way to beat Utah on Saturday night, then with the schedule setting up at UNLV, which is in Vegas, and New Mexico at home, and then Northwestern, and they had their issues on the road, that there's a possibility of 4-0, probably not Penn State in the 5th game, but they look at this game as maybe being a tone what am I looking for? A tone setter for the season. Do you see it that way?
I do. It's such an important game because we're underdogs at home. So when I think this morning it was 5.5. when you think about, when you're going up against a team that people are picking, a lot of people think they probably will creep into the top 25 pretty quick. I actually think it feels this way for both teams. If Utah goes on the road and beats a UCLA team that looks good and plays well, I think they might with a couple of losses because they'll move up maybe top 25 week 2. I think for UCLA, if you beat a Utah team that's supposed to be really, really good at home, even though it's at home, if you win this game, then people are going to some of the question marks go away. And I also think, and this is where I hate saying stuff like this, but if it's a great game and you lose by 6, lose by 3, and then you win your next 3 and go into Penn State 3-1, but you've gotten better, I don't think that's the end of the world. So I think the end of the world is if you come in and you lay an egg and you get your butt kicked and everything looks terrible. Then that's when the questions start flying. So I think this is a good barometer for both teams, and I think it's extremely important. But I don't think it's dire. I think both teams, if they lose, still have plenty to play for and can get right back in it.
I've been to the Rose Bowl when it's an intimidating home field, and I've been there when it's half full and it felt like a neutral field. What's the atmosphere going to be like for a season opener when usually there could be a lot of excitement, but I don't know. What do you think?
I wish I could have more certainty for you guys. I've been at UCLA forever. I played here. I just don't know. Our fan base can be a little bit fickle, and we're not one of those places where everybody just shows up because that's what they do on game day. I hope people are excited. You'd think when you bring in a big-time quarterback, we got the number 1, transfer in the country. You bring in a big-time quarterback. You've got one of your own as your head coach. There's tons of excitement with the coaches that we brought in. We're big and strong. It's a great matchup. So I would hope 70,000 people show up. It's 8:00. It's not going to be hot. It's going to be perfect. I know Utah fans are going to show up, so that's going to matter too. I imagine a lot of Utah fans are going to make that trip because it's going to be great. So I think it'll be a good crowd. I think it's going to look good on TV, but I can't promise you anything because I've been surprised before.
This should be a intriguing game. It's definitely a trendsetter for a U team trying to rebuild, and it feels like it's the same way for UCLA. Enjoy that game, and we will talk to you again down the road.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
Wayne Cook. There he is, former UCLA Bruin, now the sideline reporter. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. The question of the day is next. Stay with us.